Revolvers and semi-autos both have their perks, but which one makes more sense for seniors who want a solid self-defense option? In this video, we're laying it all out: reliability, capacity, accuracy, and everything else that matters, just so you can figure out which one fits you best. No fluff, no sales pitch, just facts. But feel free to comment which ones you like better. Without further ado, a revolver's mechanical simplicity has a certain charm that appeals to a lot of different shooters, particularly seniors who want a firearm that doesn't demand clearing a malfunction. A revolver doesn't rely on a magazine or a feed ramp and doesn't eject spent casings until the user presses the cylinder release and operates the ejector rod. Some folks say that means there's less that can go wrong when a critical moment arrives. That can be reassuring. If a cartridge fails to fire in a revolver, the shooter can pull the trigger again to rotate the cylinder. This concept is often framed by wheel gun purists as a key advantage over most semi-autos, because in many autoloaders, a misfire requires the tap rack bang routine, or at least a slide rack to chamber a fresh round. Revolvers are more predictable in that sense. However, there's a flip side, which we need to address. When something truly fails inside a revolver's action, there's absolutely nothing you can do on the spot to bring it back into working order. A broken firing pin, a bent crane, or debris lodged under the extractor star can freeze up the cylinder and render the revolver inoperable. Field repairs are impossible under duress. Semi-autos, in contrast, often allow the user to swap out a problematic magazine or clear a stovepipe in seconds. That means if you invest in proper training, dealing with the rare semi-auto stoppage can be done quickly. Modern pistols manufactured by companies with a track record of quality are also impressively dependable. The notion that all semi-autos suffer constant jams doesn't reflect reality when decent magazines and good ammo are used, especially if the gun is properly maintained. Certain seniors who experience pain or arthritis might have difficulty racking a slide, but there are workarounds. Pistols with lighter recoil springs, better slide serrations, built-in grip aids, and even tip-up barrels exist. Heard of the Gerson MC14T? Yep, it has a tip-up barrel, and so do a lot of the new pistol models Beretta released this year. But while both platforms can be highly reliable, revolvers maintain a slight edge because of their simple, self-contained operation. Capacity is a huge factor, especially in today's world where encounters can involve multiple aggressors, or where missed shots are common. Revolvers in .357 Magnum usually hold 5 or 6 rounds, and some larger frames manage 7 or 8, but that's about the limit. Semi-autos in 9mm easily hold anywhere from 6+1 in compact single-stack pistols all the way up to 15 in midsize, or 23 in full-size double-stack designs. Magazine capacity can make a huge difference if adrenaline spikes, fine motor skills degrade, and shots start flying wide of the mark. Many police departments have reported low hit ratios in lethal force situations, so having extra rounds on tap can offer peace of mind. Reloading is another area where semi-autos often have the edge. Ejecting a spent magazine and inserting a fresh one is typically faster than using a speed loader or a moon clip, and certainly quicker than reloading each chamber individually. Some companies have attempted to solve the bulk issue of conventional speed loaders. Something like the Kaztak Rapid Speed Loader flattens the loader for easier concealed carry, which is clever, but still doesn't match the speed of a pistol magazine. Having more rounds on hand can also reduce the frequency of reloads, which is important for those who struggle with reloading mechanics. A senior whose hands are shaky might prefer loading up a PMR-30's 30-round mag at home and having those rounds ready to go, as opposed to wrestling with a speed loader or fumbling with loose cartridges. Speed strips are thinner than speed loaders and can be tucked away easily, but they're slow if you need to reload in a hurry. People sometimes argue that if you can't solve a problem with 5 or 6 shots, you're in over your head. But the reality of it is that no one knows the nature of a life-threatening encounter. Multiple attackers high on meth refuse to flee and will require more than 6 rounds to stop. That's why many instructors recommend carrying spare magazines even with a high-capacity pistol, just in case. When it comes to defensive shooting, hitting your target under pressure is what really matters. The Dallas PD did a study and found that in real gunfights, officers only landed about 35% of their shots. And those officers are trained to shoot. That means the fancy accuracy of a gun on paper doesn't count for much if you can't shoot straight when your adrenaline's through the roof. Putting that into perspective, with a 6-shot revolver, you're likely going to land just 2 rounds. But with a Smith & Wesson M and P 5.7 and its 22-round magazine, you're looking at around 7 to 8 hits. That's way better odds, and better odds mean a better shot at staying alive. So when it comes to ammo capacity, there's just no way revolvers can compete with semi-autos. Ammo capacity and accuracy go hand in hand, so let's now talk about accuracy. For a long time, revolvers were viewed as having an inherent edge in accuracy because their barrels are fixed to the frame, and the sights are typically aligned on a top strap that doesn't move. That mechanical arrangement can produce fine results on a bench or when slow firing at the range. But there are pistols that have closed that gap, ones with a rotating barrel, or better yet, ones with a fixed barrel. These days, accuracy in practical terms often depends more on the type of ammo and other variables like the shooter's skill level, trigger control, and sight acquisition under pressure, rather than small mechanical differences in the way a gun barrel works. Revolvers often come with heavier double-action trigger pulls unless they are finely tuned or used in single-action mode. Firing a shot in double action can demand more deliberate effort, which can cause shooters to pull shots off target if their technique is lacking. Seniors who have diminished hand strength might find a heavy double-action pull tiring, whereas a striker-fired pistol with a consistent 5 to 6 pound pull could prove easier to manage. That advantage is even more apparent when follow-up shots need to be delivered quickly. An interesting development is that many semi-autos are being released with factory-milled slides to accept red dot optics. That trend has grown rapidly. Having a small red dot sight on a compact or mid-size pistol allows the user to place a dot on the target without aligning traditional front and rear sights. This can be a game changer for older eyes or those who have difficulty focusing on both sights and the target. Revolvers with direct optic mounting options are much less common. Taurus released 2 optic-ready snub noses, and Colt recently announced new mounting plates for their current production snake guns with adjustable sights. There are a few specialized models or custom solutions, but they're nowhere near as common as pistols with optic-ready slides. So when it comes to accuracy, revolvers may be inherently accurate, but rotating barrels, fixed barrels, and red dots push semi-autos ahead. Another win for Team Semi-Auto. Revolvers can handle some extremely powerful cartridges. There's no semi-auto option that matches the upper-tier revolver rounds, such as .454 Castle, .460 S and W, .480 Ruger, .500 S and W, or other heavy hitters that can take down large game. Those who live in rural areas or are concerned about wilderness encounters may prefer a revolver that can deliver massive energy against four-legged threats. In a typical self-defense context, though, Magnum revolvers can produce intense recoil and muzzle blast. That may be counterproductive if the user has any joint issues or limited hand strength. Even standard .357 Magnum loads can feel stout in smaller revolvers. For an older shooter, that might be too punishing, especially if they need multiple shots in quick succession. A milder .38 special round can reduce recoil, though that also reduces stopping power somewhat. Meanwhile, semi-autos chambered in 9mm, .40 S&W, .45 ACP, 10mm, .357 SIG, and .38 Super can offer respectable energy without the brutal recoil. A 9mm plus P plus load that uses a good hollow point usually penetrates deep enough and expands reliably for personal protection. Some per 40 or 45 pistols deliver a bit more mass and diameter. If someone wants power levels closer to or matching .357 Magnum, the 10mm auto is capable of generating serious velocity and energy, especially with hotter loads. That can be handled in a platform that carries 10 rounds, 15, or even 22 in the case of the FN 510 Tactical, which dwarfs the capacity of even the biggest 8-shot revolvers on the market. Excessive recoil can induce flinching and slow follow-up shots, particularly if someone's wrists or forearms aren't as strong as they once were. A moderate caliber that can be fired accurately multiple times is often more useful than a fire-breathing magnum that is painful to control. Not to mention, a semi-auto's recoil spring does absorb some of the recoil. The advantage revolvers hold in extreme power is usually more relevant for hunting or as a backup firearm in bear country than for everyday carry in an urban environment. Overpenetration also becomes a real concern with magnum loads in typical home defense scenarios, where walls can be thin and neighbors might be close by. But with all that said, just being objective here, when it comes to sheer power, revolvers still win. Revolvers are wide in the middle because of the cylinder. A snub-nose .38 might be short in overall length, but that cylinder thickness can create challenges when carrying inside the waistband. A pistol with a flush-fitting magazine is flatter in profile. That can make it easier to conceal under lighter clothing. A revolver might also create more of a bump on the beltline, which can print under a shirt or jacket. For someone who wants a discreet carry method, a semi-auto will always be simpler to conceal. Modern subcompacts and microcompacts can hold 10 or more rounds in a very slim package. The Springfield Hellcat and SIG P365 are prime examples. Their overall dimensions are smaller than or comparable to many snub revolvers, yet they pack twice the ammo, which makes them hard to ignore. Ergonomics go beyond just size. Revolvers can have a curved grip that feels natural in the hand, but firing in double action demands a longer reach for the trigger. Some seniors with shorter fingers might struggle to stage that heavy pull smoothly. A semi-auto with interchangeable backstraps, such as certain M&P or Glock models, can be more customizable for different hand shapes. The same is true for controlling recoil. A polymer pistol often spreads out recoil over a larger area in the hand, which can be less jarring than the snap of a lightweight revolver. So when it comes to concealability and ergonomics, semi-autos win. They're smaller, easier to carry concealed, and a lot of them have interchangeable grips too. Revolvers offer an advantage in dry fire training because snap caps stay in the cylinder, which allows shooters to practice trigger control without interruption. On the other hand, semi-autos eject snap caps with every slide cycle, which forces users to manually reset each shot and retrieve their training rounds from the floor. That small inconvenience makes dry fire drills with a revolver far more practical for those who want to build muscle memory without hassle. Maintenance is another where revolvers shine. Semi-autos need regular cleaning to prevent carbon buildup in feed ramps and to ensure magazines function reliably. Revolvers with fewer moving parts require less frequent maintenance. However, if a revolver sees heavy use, cleaning out powder residue from the cylinder and forcing cone can be just as involved. Seniors might prefer whichever design they've shot for most of their lives. Familiarity often breeds confidence. If you grew up shooting .38 revolvers, switching to a compact 9mm pistol might feel alien without solid practice. The same is true in reverse. Consistency in training can be more important than the theoretical advantages of one system over another. A gun that you understand deeply is going to be more effective than one you haven't built muscle memory with. With all that said, objectively speaking, revolvers are better than semi-autos when it comes to maintenance and training. When all is weighed, well, we have a draw. Choosing between a revolver and a semi-automatic comes down to personal needs and preferences. A revolver brings mechanical simplicity, no magazines to fail, and the peace of mind that if one round doesn't fire, a second trigger pull rotates the cylinder. It also offers the possibility of incredibly powerful calibers. However, the limited capacity, slower reloads, and heavier double-action triggers might be liabilities. A powerful revolver can deliver bone-jarring recoil that isn't fun for arthritic hands or wrists. A semi-auto can carry 2 or 3 times as many rounds, reload more quickly, and frequently have a lighter, shorter trigger pull that's easier to control. Many of them are also compatible with red dots out of the box, which can help seniors with aging eyes acquire targets more rapidly. Modern pistol designs are very reliable if you keep them clean, use proper magazines, and feed them decent ammo. The shape of a pistol's frame can spread recoil effectively, and changing back straps or grip modules can fine-tune fit in a way most revolvers cannot match. Some seniors may love the reliability and simplicity of a wheel gun, especially if they've built decades of familiarity and find it easy to operate. Others may prefer the extra capacity of a pistol and the confidence that comes with a quick reload. Either platform can serve effectively if the user trains adequately. Misses happen in real gunfights, and adversaries can come in groups or refuse to stop after taking a single hit. That is why capacity is so significant. People with hand or wrist issues might find the semi-auto's ergonomics and lower recoil easier to manage than a compact .357 Magnum that can sting in a big way. In many respects, the differences come down to how you handle your handgun's weight, how accurate you can shoot, your recoil tolerance, and your level of training. If you can rack the slide on a pistol and find that a 9mm recoil is mild, you may be better served by a semi-auto's capacity and potentially faster follow-up shots. If you're more comfortable with a simple cylinder that swings out for loading, no magazines to track, and a hammer you can thumb back for single-action precision, a revolver could still be the right choice. Seniors deserve a defensive tool that meets their physical needs while providing enough firepower to handle realistic threats. Both platforms are capable when employed properly, and each has loyal fans. If debates arise, they often reflect personal comfort or tradition. The best approach is to try both and see which fits your hand, recoil tolerance, and reload preferences. Factor in your environment too. A pocket revolver might be appealing for everyday errands, while a double-stack micro-compact 9mm might feel more reassuring in an uncertain world. The key is regular practice and confidence in your chosen firearm. Neither is perfect, but both can excel if the shooter knows how to run them effectively. But what are your thoughts? Did we miss anything? Comment below. Thanks for watching.